Hello, welcome to today's session. In this video, we're going to do radical equations. I have different questions both for Math 1100 and Math 1120 exam. The first question is coming from Math 1100, that was 2019 exam, and it is square root of 2x plus 1 is equal to square root of x plus 1. Then the second question is coming from Math 1100 2020 exam, and it is square root of 2x plus 1 minus square root of x is equal to 1. Then the third question is from Math 1120 exam, that is 2023-2024 exam, that was for the last year exam, and it is 3 plus square root of x plus 6 is equal to square root of 11 minus x. So how can you solve radical equations? So before we can do this topic, let's have a recap of, or let's remind ourselves of what we need to do. Okay, let's understand something even before we can solve this question. Okay, all right. So when you're dealing with radical functions, or radical equations, should I say, there is something you need to do to a certain equation. Radical functions, or radical equations rather, are usually given in the form of maybe a plus b is equal to root of c. There is something you need to do to these equations in order for you to be able to solve them. Okay, so for this particular scenario, we need to square root on both. We need to get rid of the square root on both sides by squaring on both sides. In this case, you'll be able to cancel out the square root and the power of 2, and you'll remain with a plus b is equal to c. You'll be able to solve this equation in a fast way and in an easy way and stressful way, because you are gotten rid of the square root. Let's look at another scenario. Let's say you have square root of ax plus, let's say, b minus square root of bx is equal to 1. Again, for this kind of equation, you need to do something here. You can't solve a radical equation rather with the square roots, with the two square roots on the same side. Okay, so what you need to do here is you need to take one square root to the other side. Okay, this one will be equal to, you take this square root to the other side, so it will be equal to square root of b x plus 1. At this point now, you can square this and you square that. You'll be able to solve a radical equation or a radical function. So this is basically what you need to understand. Let's now solve these questions. Let me just get the questions. So the first question was 2x plus 1. Square root of 2x plus 1 is equal to square root of x plus 1. So this was from 2019 exam. Okay, let's solve this one. Okay, so it is square root of 2x plus 1 is equal to square root of x plus 1. This is a first scenario I had to highlight before in this video. Okay, so what you need to do is what I mentioned. So you're going to say 2x plus 1 is equal to root of x plus 1. in this case, to get rid of the square, it will be very difficult for you to solve this kind of equation with this square root. So you need to get rid of the square root by finding the square on both sides. So the square and the square root to cancel out, square and the square root to cancel out. So basically you're going to remain with 2x plus 1 is equal to x plus 1. So what do we have there? Let me get rid of this. So what we have there is 2x. This x will go to this side. Okay, so it will be minus x. We find the additive inverse of x, that is negative x. So this one now will go to this side. We are just correcting the like term, so it will be 1 minus 1. Okay, let me get rid of this. So we are going to have 2x minus x, that is just x, is equal to 1 minus 1, that is just 0. So the value of x is simply 0. And we can prove these radical equations. You always need to test. Okay, so we found that x is equal to 0. Let me write it here. X is equal to 0. Okay, so let me get rid of this. So initially the equation was, how was the equation again? Okay, that was the equation 2x plus 1 square root is equal to square root of x plus 1. Okay, so the equation was square root of 2x plus 1 is equal to root of x plus 1. Let's substitute 0 to see if this answer we found has satisfied this equation. So we're going to say 2 where there's x, we substitute 0 plus 1 is equal to square root where there's x, substitute 0 plus 1. So we're going to say 2 times 0, excuse me, that is just 0 plus 1, that is square root of 1 is equal to, even here 0 plus 1, that is just square root of 1. So have you seen that this equation has satisfied the this answer has satisfied the equation. Okay, so x is equal to 1 satisfy. So this is the correct answer. Now let's look at the second question, which was asked in Math 1120, that is 2020 exam. So it was square root of 2x plus 1 minus square root of x is equal to 1. Okay, so it was square root of 2x plus 1 is equal that is minus square root of x is equal to 1. So I said in this case we can't solve because these two radical functions are on the same side. So you need to take one to the other side so that you can square and get rid of the square root. Okay, so this is basically what you need to do. So we're going to say square root of 2x plus 1. We take this minus x minus square root of x to the other side, so it will be equal to 1 plus square root of x. At this point now you can square. Okay, when you square that square root will cancel with the square there. So here we're going to remain with x plus 1 is equal to, here the fastest way to do it is just say 1 square. 1 square is just 1, then plus, because there's plus there, you just multiply 2 times 1, that is 1 times the square root of x, that is square root of, that is 2 square root of x, then the square root of plus the square root of this x, square root of x square. Okay, that is simply just you see we have this square root of x, then with a square there, so the square will cancel with the 2 there, so we're going to have just an x. Okay, we're just going to have an x there. So let me wrap the top part there. Okay, so let's now solve this. So we have now, we collect everything. We do not have a square root to the left hand side, so 2x plus 1, then which other one, so minus x, which other one, minus 1 is equal to, this side now will remain with 2 root of x. Okay, let me get rid of this. So we are going to simply have, so we collect the like terms, 2x minus x, then we have plus 1 there, minus 1 is equal to 2 root of x. So 2x minus x, that is just x. Then 1 minus 1, it is just 0. So x is equal to 2 root of x. So at this point again, you square. So you find the square. So we are going to have this. We're going to have x square is equal to, if you square 4, 2 square, that is 4. Square root of x square, that is just x, because this will cancel with that. Okay, so let me get rid of this. At this point now it is very simple, right? So we have x square is equal to 4x. So what we can do here, we can take this 4x to this side. So we're going to have x squared minus 4x, then there will remain with a 0. Okay, so you can now factorize x. So we're going to say x outside, we factor out x, we remain with x minus 4 there, we've just factorized, is equal to 0. So you can say x is equal to 0, or x is equal to, okay, or x minus 4 is equal to 0. So x this side will be equal to 4. So what are the solutions we have? X is equal to 0 and x is equal to 4. Let me write them there. X is equal to 0, x is equal to what? 4. I said always test the solutions. Sometimes the solution you get might not even be the answer, but you have gotten the answer, but the answer is not that. Okay, so there are cases whereby the answer you've gotten is not the answer to that equation. It does not answer the equation. Okay, so you need to test always. Let's test. It was initially the equation was square root of 2x plus 1 minus root of x is equal to 1. So let's test x is equal to 0. So we just over where there's x, we just substitute. Okay, so it will be 2 where there's x, 0 plus 1 is equal to, or minus rather, minus square root of 0 is equal to 1. Let's find here 2 times 0, that is just 0. So you are going to remain with square root of 1 minus, that is just 0. So it will just be equal to, then 1. Square root of 1, we know that the square root of 1 is just 1. 1 is equal to what? 1. So x is equal to 0 is part of the answer. Okay, x is equal to 0 is part of the answer. Let's now test x is equal to 4. Let me wrap this. So root of, where there is, we are testing 4, where there is x, we substitute 4 plus 1 is minus rather root of 4 is equal to 1. So we're going to have root of 2 times 4 excuse me, that is 8 plus 1, that is 9. So root of 9, square root of 9 minus square root of 4 is equal to 1. Square root of 9, that is 3. Square root of 4, that is 2, is equal to 1. From this we can see that 3 minus 2, that is 1, is equal to 1, and 4 is also part of the solution. So these two are correct answers. They are answers. They are not just correct, but they are answers to this question. Okay, now let's do the last one. Let's do the last one. The question which was asked in math now, 1120. Let's revisit this question. So it is math 1120 exam. This was for last year, 2023-2024 exam. Okay, so the question was solve the radical equation. So solve the radical equation. So this was 20. Let me indicate there. This was 2023 2024 exam. Okay, this is where this question is coming from this year. So it will solve the radical equation 3 plus square root of x plus x is equal to square root of 11 minus x. So how can you solve this equation? Okay, let's solve this one. So it is 3 plus 3 plus square root, this was how it was, square root of x plus 6 is equal to square root of 11 minus x. So how can you solve this equation? Okay, this one is even simple because we can just square that side. Even there we square, so we're going to have 3 square, that is 9, plus 3 times 2, that is 6, times this square root of x plus 6. So we're going to have plus 6 root of x plus 6. Then we have root of x plus 6 square, that is just x plus 6, because this will cancel with that. Then this side is equal to, we cancel square root with the square there, so we're going to remain with 11 minus x. Then at this point now we're going to collect the like terms, so we're going to remain here with x root of x plus 6. Just here we're going to have 11 minus 9. This again we're going to take it this side and it will be minus 6. Then this again we'll take it this side and it will be minus x. Remember there is minus x there again. Okay, there is minus x again. So here what we're going to have, let me just simplify this, it will be 6 root of x plus 6 is equal to 11 minus 9, that is 2. 2 minus 6, that is 2 minus 6, what's the answer? It is negative 4, right? Yes. 2 minus 6. 2 minus 6 must be negative 4, yes. Then negative x minus x, that is negative 2x. Now let's get rid of this top part. Okay, alright. Now let's the equation is now interesting here. What can we do again? At this point again, let's square. Okay, let's square again. Okay, so we're going to have 6 square, that is simply 36. Then if you find the square root of x plus 6 square, that will give you x plus 6, because this square we cancel with the square root, excuse me. Then we're going to say equal to this. Here I've shown you the first way to do it is negative 4 square, that is just 16. Then negative 2x multiplied by negative 4 multiplied by 2, and that will give you negative 2x multiplied by negative 4, that is positive 8, multiply, and then you multiply it by 2, that will be plus 16x. Okay, then negative 2x square, negative 2x square, we're going to have positive 4x square. Okay, so what we are going to have here is that 36 multiplied by x, that is 36x, then plus 36 multiplied by 36 multiplied by 6, that should give 126, is equal to, then here we have 16 plus 16x plus 4x square. Let me get rid of this, I no longer need it. So what we need to do here is we're going now to make a quadratic equation. Okay, we're just going to say everything, we take it to this side, we take everything to this side. So let's form a quadratic equation. So we're going to have 4x square, then we have 16x there, plus 16x, then we have plus 16 this one. Okay, then we have minus 36. Minus 36, this was x, sorry. So minus 36x. Actually, this must be here since it has x. Okay. So minus 36x. Then we have, this will become negative. So we have plus 16 there, this one. Then plus minus 216, because this will become a negative. So we're going to have 4x square, then this will be minus 16x minus 36x, that should be negative 20x, then 16 minus 216, that should give negative 200. Okay, so let me get rid of the top part there. So we have 4x squared minus 20x minus, okay, this was supposed to be equal to 0. Okay, so supposed to be equal to 0, so minus 200 is equal to 0. So you can divide by 4 throughout, just to reduce this. So 4x squared divided by 4, in fact this 4 will cancel with that, so we're going to remain with x squared minus 20 divided by 4, that is, it will be negative 5x minus 200 divided by 4, that is, it should be 50. Is equal to 4 divided by 0, 0 divided by 4, that is simply 0. So we find now the product. The product will be equal to negative 1 multiplied by negative 50. You would simply multiply this multiplied by that. It is AC. Okay? And that would be negative 50. The sum there, it is, you just get this value, which is B. The sum is negative 5. Then what are the factors? The two numbers, when you add them, they'll give you negative 50. When you multiply them, they'll give you negative 50 rather. Then when you add them, they'll give you negative 5. They are simply negative 10 and positive 5. Those are the factors, right? So let's now substitute where there is B. So it will square there. Okay, so we're going to say x squared then plus 5x minus 10x. You have just substituted the factors, then minus 50 is equal to 0. Let me get rid of this. So what will be the value? So we're going to say, we factor out here, it will be x plus 5 there. We have factored out x, then minus here we factor out 10, it will be x minus what will be the value there? So it will be plus here. 50 divided by 10, that is just 5, is equal to 0. So what we have is x plus 5 and x minus 10 is equal to 0. So what we have is x plus 5 is equal to 0, or x minus 10 is equal to 0. So let's get rid of this. Okay, so what we have will be equal to now x plus 5. When 5 goes to this side, it will be x is equal to negative 5. And the other solution will be x, 10 goes to this side, x will be equal to positive 10. Now, I said whenever we find the solution, some solutions are not solutions, okay? Some solutions are not solutions. So whenever you find solutions, make sure that it is really a solution. Just like you have friends. Some friends may not be friends. They may be friends, but they are not true friends, okay? So you need